Welcome back to Dragon Ball Z Anime Review Part 3A. Yeah, another one basically I'm splitting in half. Well, this one for a particularly good reason. This is a quite long of a saga. If you're wondering how long, this is the Namek Saga of Dragon Ball Z. Officially the third saga of the series. Yeah, the third. And this one is roughly 32 episodes. This one I'm not covering all 32. Nope. Now you're probably thinking, wait, wasn't Piccolo Jr. all 32 episodes? Why didn't you split that one up? Well, because I kept going with it. And that one I just mainly produced like 9 videos plus a presents. This one is stretched out a bit. So this one I'm only covering the first, technically this is the first 11 episodes of the saga. Though you can kind of think of it as basically, well, 61 kind of is the end of it because that's when the Ginyu Force shows up. Yep. Now, in these 10 episodes, pretty much we have the first, the saga starts basically with the last 4 episodes of Season 1 of DBZ. Basically, we start off dealing with the immediate aftermath of the Vegeta saga. Basically, Chi-Chi, Roshi, Korin, and Bulma go and find everybody else. And, well, of course, Chi-Chi basically, despite the fact Gohan's doing perfectly fine just unconscious, she basically cares more about her son than she does her frickin' husband. Yeah, and it's pointed out by Yajirobe later. It's like, your husband is alive right behind you, right behind you, and you haven't even looked at him since he was resurrected. Yeah, that's Chi-Chi for you. A character who only cares about her son and doesn't give a damn about her husband. That is how she's written in this series. Though she comes a bit lighter, basically, when it comes to how they write her. She's very arrogant. Like, oh, my baby. Despite the fact that she hasn't seen him in a frickin' year, and the fact he's gotten beefier. Yeah, it was actually noted by Bulma. He's actually put on some muscle. And apparently, Chi-Chi just doesn't notice it at all. I don't think she frickin' cares. All she sees is just her little boy. Yes, who doesn't have his tail anymore. Well, that's thanks to Vegeta. By the way, she doesn't even mention the fact that Gohan's tail is gone. Yep, don't bring it up at all. So, and I love the continuity of this. This was really well handled. So, they kind of they basically, after they pick up Goku, Krillin, and Gohan, they go and pick up the bodies of Tien, Piccolo, and Yamcha. And Bulma, of course, is grieving over the loss of basically Yamcha, and they pair the capsules. By the way, these are the same capsules they use at the end of at the start of the King Piccolo arc, which I'm surprised they actually reuse these damn things. And they said they couldn't find Chaozu, all they found was his hat. But yeah, this is something. I mean, it's something though that they lost Yamcha and Tien because they actually knew him for a good period of time. Piccolo, they barely knew him. But they at least treat him with a good amount of respect, which you gotta at least praise the fact that the characters are written that way. They put him in the casket and they basically just put in a capsule. And by the way, they do return. By the way, they return as spirits in later on in the Namek Saga. Don't worry, I'll get to them. Yeah. So Korin basically says he's out of senzu beans, so gotta take Goku to the hospital. And, well, he is the most heavily injured out of the three of them. Yeah, Krillin and Gohan are not that injured very much. Yeah, they got injuries to their arms, their heads, but their injuries are not as big as Goku's. They'll be out in a few days, but Goku, he is like, first he's freaking paralyzed. He's paralyzed for a good period of time, though he's able to move his hands, so he can't move his legs for quite a while. Yeah, so Bulma comes with the ingenious idea of, well, we gotta go to Namek. Of course, mentioned by Krillin that Namek basically has got Dragon Balls. And I thought this was ingenious. Goku contacts King Kai. Of course he would know about this because because I'm sure that Namek is probably in the area of the galaxy that he probably controls. He has probably authority over. So he just basically looks up, he finds the address, And they look up basically where it is. That would calculate take a long time. It's like, is there any Namekians left on the planet? This, I think, mentioned was a drought there. And there is. There is at least 100 Namekians left. So at least that the planet's not going to be deserted when they get there. Kudos. The fact that they actually... And this is basically everybody now... Everybody on this planet, this is basically the first time that basically Chi-Chi, Bulma, Korin, Master Roshi, Gohan, and Krillin actually hear King Kai's voice. Here's kind of the strange thing about this. Nobody in this plane ever meets King Kai. They hear his voice, but they never meet him. Yeah, that's something quite interesting though about King Kai. Probably because of where he is, it's kind of difficult to get to him. The Goku later on is able to get to him nilly-willy, no problem. But not in the case of these characters. Unless they die, they probably would never meet King Kai. Oh yeah, a lot of these characters do die again. So they pretty much have to get Namek. But first they try to use the same spaceship. Apparently Krillin actually kept Vegeta's remote control we used to summon his spaceship, which is something though he just left it behind. I'm surprised he didn't take it with him. Yeah, and they use it on the TV to try to bring the ship to them, and it just self-destructs. Yeah, the ship actually belonged to Nappa. Yes, Nappa's ship. Surprisingly, never found any remains of Nappa in the area. Nope, no Nappa. I'm like, that's interesting. So, after they get everybody to the hospital, Goku, of course, is screaming like crazy because they're changing his bandages. Krillin and Gohan try to sneak away, but Roshi and Chi-Chi picks both of them up and gets their bandages changed. Yeah, so Bulma comes after basically, and then all of a sudden Mr. Popo shows up. Yep, Mr. Popo. Now here's the thing, Mr. Popo has only been seen by Goku himself, Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, Chaozu. I'm sure Piccolo probably knows about him, but I don't think he's ever met him. But this is the first time that Ox King, I'm sure Korin has probably met him in the past. So basically, this is the first time that Roshi, Chi-Chi, Bulma, Ox King, and Gohan have ever met Mr. Popo. And when Bulma first sees him, she's actually quite nervous around him. And he basically takes her because he found a spaceship. And apparently this was Kami's spaceship. Yes. And they go to a place called Yangaman Heights, which apparently is on the other side of the planet. How they get there is quite interesting. They get there via magic carpet because Mr. Popo's a genie. Of course he would have magic carpets. Probably reference to Aladdin. Yep. But instead of flying there via the carpet, they just teleport there. Mr. Popo, not very talkative, they find the spaceship, though it's somewhat a little bit rusty. They can clean it up. And the way to get on board is quite interesting. Yeah, they use the word... Okay, so to open the ship to get on board, all they say is Piccolo. Yes, Piccolo. And they both go on board, and basically test the ship still works. They ask the ship to fly into Jupiter. And it gets there in just a span of 10 seconds. It was really quick, and they come back to Earth, no problem. And they go, yeah, let's go to the planet Namek. Now, Roshi can't go because, well, he's an old man. He probably can't survive the space very much. Chi-Chi has to stay here to take care of Goku. Of course, Bulma suggests Krillin come along because technically this was his idea. He's like, okay, I'll go. And then Gohan says, I'm coming too. Chi-Chi says no. Now, Goku basically is all for. He's actually with this idea of Gohan going because he's not that injured as much as Goku is. And he's gotten stronger, and basically he's mostly recovered. They even have this really interesting scene where he briefly sneaks out of his room, to look at the roof. And when Chi-Chi finds him later, he's just reading his book. Yep, reading his book. So I'm like, that's interesting. Yeah, so at one point, now, of course, Chi-Chi's he says, I'm going. Of course, he yells at her. And he does apologize for snapping at her, though she does forgive him because he's her son. So, he goes. The three of them. Bulma, Krillin, and Gohan. They clear the spaceship. Of course, they first asked Mr. Popo to go, but he can't leave the lookout deserted. So that's the reason why Gohan. But she doesn't know how to fly the spaceship. She has to speak Namekian. So she asked Mr. Popo to teach her how to speak Namekian. Well, he does know some Namekian, not much, but enough to basically pilot the spaceship. Basically, the ship was reprogrammed to, with the exception of basically the opening to get on board the ship, mostly the ship was translated into English, well, probably in the original sub Japanese. And Bomba spends what looks like about 10 days, at least about 2 weeks, fixing the ship, cleaning it up, basically replacing some systems, not much problem. And she also takes on building her own spacesuit, and then they go meet up at Master Roshi's house, Kami house, yep. And here's the thing, Krillin has got a hat that says Kami on it. I'm thinking, does the Kami house, is that merchandisable? Because that looks like merchandise. Probably Roshi's probably making some money off the merchandise via the Kami house. I mean, he is well-respected martial arts. I'm sure he's probably making money on the side via this merchandise because of how popular he is. I wouldn't be surprised. And of course, Gohan comes in wearing a little boy suit. I am not kidding about that. Wearing like the bow tie. And here's the thing. Goku says the outfit looks silly. Bulma thinks it's adorable. Krillin thinks it looks silly. Heck, even Roshi and Ox King agree this looks silly for him to wear. But lucky enough, Gohan will wear this very long. And apparently, Chi-Chi took time to pack him a whole bunch of bags. Well, Krillin's got one bag. Of course, Bulma's probably got her bag on board. So, they just go on the ship. Of course, Bulma really wants to leave. She gets to get into space, no problem. And, well, they get into space. And then we next see them, while they're in space. Like I think in Namek yet. And then we see her later where she's... Well, I think this particular look for her is a nod to Ellen Ripley's look from the Alien movies. Where she would, whenever she went to sleep in the movies, in the cryo sleep, she would simply wear a gray tank top shirt and gray panties. Yes, I am not kidding about that. Bulma would wear this outfit for 2 episodes. Yeah. And the first thing they come across when in space is this ship that has this mirror exterior. And you look around for a while, and it turns out the thing is piloted by a bunch of kids. Who, the way they explain it, is that their plane was recently overrun by Frieza. Yes, this is the first mentioning of Frieza in the series. Frieza doesn't show up until about 3 episodes, at least 4 episodes after they finish up with them. Where they think they're working with them until they realize, though, they're not, via the fact that Bulma basically is able to pilot their ship perfectly fine. And they go to the planet that they're going to, basically is a planet that the captain of the ship, who I think is like the oldest of the entire crew, he looks like he's about 12, 13 years old, though he's shorter than the other guy who's probably his second command, who's got a scar across his face done from... Now, they mentioned were the people who did it, were they Saiyans? No, but they did wear the same armor as Saiyans. Basically, it was Vegeta's for Frieza's higher guns. So, this also kind of reveals that Frieza's got more than just the Saiyans working for him. Of course, Krillin doesn't realize, though, the Saiyans are pretty much all gone. Yeah, the only alive Saiyans at this point are Vegeta, Goku, of course, later revealed in the canon, thanks to the film that came out 2 years ago, Broly, and, believe it or not, Vegeta's brother. Yes, Vegeta has a brother who only showed up in one TV special and was actually mentioned in the Super Series. Turbo, who looks exactly like Frieza, not Frieza, it looks like Vegeta, but he's smaller. And his point out by Vegeta like right away. Now, I haven't seen the whole thing fully, but I'm looking forward to watch when I get a chance to watch, because it looks quite interesting to watch, because it takes place during a time skip between the final arc, the second last arc of the series, the Kid Buu and Peaceful Saga, which that indirectly set up GT. Yeah. So, after being this ship for 2 episodes, then they go to a Namek. it's not really Namek. And they look for the Dragon Balls on this planet thanks to finding a couple Namekians. Yeah, but here's the thing about these Dragon Balls. They're just slightly bigger than the ones that appear on Earth. They don't realize, though, when they get to the actual Namek, these things are the size of freaking balls. These things are huge! Yeah, which I'll get to these soon. So after spending a few episodes on this planet, they turn out, by the time they find the final Dragon Ball, yeah, that's when these Namekians turn out to be not Namekians, but just other aliens, and everything was basically just an illusion. All the Dragon Balls they found were all fakes. All of them. But the thing to go experience them, so they all got on their ship. Of course, they tried to steal their ship. Didn't work. So they got off the planet. This like a planet turns into like this hunkin' asteroid. Yeah, and it's like with them going like, oh man, how do we get back home now? And apparently these aliens have been on this planet for 50 years. And it's not their home planet. Their home planet is completely someplace else. Like, okay. So after they got rid of that, by episode 44, they basically halfway through 43, they finally get to Namek. And it looks exactly like the appearance-wise exterior. It's what the fake Namekians use as the exterior. When they get on the planet, it looks just like the fake Namek, but this is the actual one. At first, they couldn't find Namekians, probably because there's only just 100 of them. I mean, how much the population is left on the planet, it's only able to fill up maybe like a couple city blocks. So there's some small villages here and there across the planet, but yeah, mostly just empty planet. Yeah, and then they have to basically all of a sudden detect a very strong power source heading over like in that direction. And then they see like a ball come across the sky. It's Vegeta. And then they see another ball. And that's not Vegeta. Somebody who's actually weaker than Vegeta. Yep. And this is when you introduce the Frieza to the series. Along with Dorban and Zorban, who in the English in this dub is also voiced by Christopher Sabat. Yeah, you don't see him do much of anything aside from, well, holding the Dragon Balls. Oh, by the way, when these guys show up, they reveal to already have 4 of the 7 Dragon Balls. Which, when they see this later on, is like, yeah, this is actually pretty bad. Now, I'll review why in a minute, basically, why I decided to stop at 46. And so I'm going straight to, let's say, 61 per se. So, they decided to hide. They can't, and of course, then they have a couple of Frieza's troops run into them. Them as their spaceships, they can't leave. So, basically, Gohan and Krillin just beat up the 2 scouts really easily. Like, couple punches, bam, done. Of course, they realized, though, that they were suppressing their power. And apparently, like, all of a sudden, their power gets bigger, like 1,500. And then when Vegeta battles Q, yeah, he's a guy who he claims he was stronger than Vegeta. But according to Frieza, he has experienced heavy battle recently. So he's gotten a lot stronger. And by the way, he beats him really easily. Just one punch. Apparently that spills his guts, and then basically just destroys him just like that, and just 2 hits, done. Yeah, that's it for a guy who claimed to be stronger than he is. Yeah, Vegeta, when you first see him in the saga, he first is arriving out on Frieza planet for Frieza 79, where he just basically spends time healing. After he heals, he asks, we fully healed you, but we couldn't regrow your tail, and he says, that's fine, don't worry about it. So he puts on a similar outfit he was wearing before, except no, whatever skirt thing he was wearing before it was destroyed. Yeah, though he wears a similar outfit later, but he gets rid of the silly shoulder pads. Yeah, anybody can tell the shoulder pads look so silly on these people, and apparently nobody's ever mentioned that to any of these characters. It's like anybody who's not really a fan of the series can easily point out though the Frieza's warriors look so silly in their attires. I mean, come on, gigantic shoulder pads, having basically like an eyepiece, the Scouter. Yeah, the Scouter's actually pretty neat and interesting tech, and believe it or not, that's been merchandised heavily over the years. And I saw a picture of a wrestler. He actually had that on, and apparently, he's a Hispanic wrestler. I think he goes by the name of Mr. 450. He wrestles in Puerto Rico. And the picture that I've seen of him, he actually wears a Scouter on his face. I'm like, he must be a DBZ fan. The only one I can think of who actually possibly might be a fan of this series, there's a couple of them. One is Ronda Rousey. Yeah, she's a big fan of the series. Yeah, apparently she also had a crush on Vegeta. When I first see her in footage, she was her says over 9,000, which is a common meme from this series. And there's also Keith Lee. His signature move is the Spirit Bomb. So that implies he might be a fan of DBZ, but I don't know. But sounds like I've seen it perform on footage. It looks like a pretty cool move and makes sense to call it the Spirit Bomb. I wouldn't be surprised if you had a move called the Kamehameha Wave. Yep. So yeah. So, and they actually see Frieza for the first. He just rolls on by, and they see the Dragon Balls, and they go to the village. This one gets used to Dende. Yeah, he's not named yet, but this kid wearing this white outfit with a purple vest. This guy is Dende. Yep. Of course, sees him dead. The Namekians here killed by Frieza's men. And they see that, oh yeah, Frieza's got Dragon Balls. And meanwhile, on Earth, we first see, and we have Goku subplot. Yep, Goku has a subplot here. Yeah, the main character series is reduced to a B plot. Yeah. Basically, what he's doing on Earth. First, he basically is in this thing, like almost like an iron lung, can't move around except for his hands. And eventually, he's able to wear it in pajamas. So, he briefly escapes from the hospital to do some training. And, well, they eventually find him later, and of course, at the hospital. He's there briefly. At one point, you actually practicing telekinesis, which, yeah, that's quite something. He can do that. Probably King Kai probably taught him that. So, of course, it's all wet, and then, of course, Roshi gets a call from Bulma, says you have to get Goku to come in right away. And, of course, he does come the following episode. Kind of explains what's going on. And that's when Yajirobe shows up with the Senju Beans. Yep, the Senju Beans. He tosses one in Goku's mouth, eats it, and he goes perfectly fine. He destroys all three casts he's wearing. Gets rid of the pajama he was wearing, basically the hospital gown, and puts on the outfit that originally that he said was given to him by King Kai. So, puts on the attire. Calls for... I kind of forgot he actually did this, because I thought the Vegeta song was last time he used the Flying Nimbus. But yeah, he calls for the Flying Nimbus. He helps the damn thing and flies away. You see Chi-Chi get upset because he didn't bring Caliper underwear. So he flies to... the Briefs. Yes, well, see Dr. Brief and Mrs. Brief. Mrs. Brief, you see her, and she just basically just water plants, and which apparently she runs out of water. She apparently drops her water can, and she's so happy to see Goku. And I don't think she was ever trying to push Goku into marrying her daughter. She just probably sees Goku probably like a son to her. And, of course, she brings up Chi-Chi and the fact she really wants to meet Gohan. And, of course, he's like, I'm going to see your husband. It's like, okay, let's go see, basically, the ship. Yeah, and it's not his original spaceship. It's this gigantic ball of a spaceship that apparently Dr. Brief built over the course of a month. Yes, a frickin' month he took him to build this thing. He says he's able to salvage most of it because it was destroyed. Yeah, Goku and Dr. Brief do not know what the heck's the reason why his ship was destroyed. He thought it just rusted. No, the ship was destroyed by Piccolo in the previous arc of the series. Because it had projection of the moon, which caused Gohan to turn into a Zoro. Yeah. So, he gets on the spaceship, he's like, oh, we're missing something. What are we missing? A cappuccino machine. Goku's like, I don't need a cappuccino machine. I want to go now. It's like, okay, fine. So he teaches him how to fly his ship. Of course, he also has a special training simulator where he gets to train under artificial gravity. Okay, perfectly cool. You got a kitchen, a bathroom. Simple as that. Everything. It looks like almost like a mini two-story house he basically has, which I think is great. And he says, based on the calculations he calculated, it's going to take him not 2 months to get to Namek, it's going to take him 6 days to get there. It's like, cool. Awesome. And the only thing bringing them aside from the clothes back is bag of Senju Beans. And that's it. Of course, probably is a space suit on board, but yeah. He blasts off, and we all see briefly Yamcha. You see, not Yamcha, Puar and Chaozu. Yeah, they appear briefly in this episode. Yeah, the first they actually appear in this arc. Yeah, the thing with these two characters is that, despite them being sort of recurring characters, DBZ, they were Dragon Ball and DBZ. They reduced to basically minor recurring characters when they appeared now and again. But in the case of Oolong, that was always the case for him because, well, after the initial debut saga, which he debuted in, he just basically dropped off the map. He did virtually almost nothing over the course. He basically was there just to cower in fear. He didn't do any participate in any fighting. He did nothing. He barely shapeshifted in the series. Puar did a lot more than he did. Yeah. But that's a Curry Toriyama for you. He creates these cool characters, and then some of the characters he just reduced almost nothing. Oh, by the way, where is Launch in all this? Well, she was briefly seen in the Vegeta Saga, grieving over the death of Tien because she was in love with him. Well, this is of course bad Launch. She's drinking heavily. Of course, she has lots of money to pay for it. And then all of a sudden, he had an earthquake. Well, what was that earthquake? The fight between Goku and freaking Vegeta. Yeah. And by the way, that's the last time you see Launch for pretty much most of the rest of the series because she doesn't return again into the final. Pretty much, technically, you could think of it as the final arc of the series, the Majin Buu arc. Yep. Well, the King Buu arc, basically, second last arc of the series. Yep. But yeah, 46 basically, the reason why I chose it in here, because this is when Goku goes off to space to go chase after him. He says, oh yeah, takes him 6 days to get there. Takes him 20 episodes to show up on Namek. Yeah, he doesn't show up until, like, just before the start of when the Captain Ginyu part of the story starts up. Yeah, it takes him quite some time to show up in the series, because he's off in space for 20 episodes. But that's what I'll talk about in the next episode, which I'll talk about episodes 47 to 61. Yep, which seems like a good episode, basically, for Part 3B. In Part 4A, I'll just basically discuss the start. I'll pretty much for that one, just, actually for Part 4, I'll finish up the Namek Saga with that one, and just basically talk about the Ginyu arc. Which at that point probably just be 14 episodes. Yep, actually about 13. Yep, but that's it for this particular review. I might have one more review because I'm thinking of watching Severe Attention basically next after I put this up, okay? See you next video. Bye.